Hey everyone, so today I'll be talking about intertextuality and how we can use it in a classroom. So intertextuality is basically an idea that the connections between the texts that we learn have some importance that we can teach that importance. So when we teach a single narrative, we tend to focus on the plot and on the different characters and their motives. It's a very sort of microscopic way of looking at things. There's nothing wrong with it. And then when we teach intertextually, so we take a few texts, maybe two or three texts at a single class or at a single discussion or at a single unit, however you'd like to break it down. And we sort of talk about how they relate to one another in order to understand some bigger ideas that are related to all of them. So one of those ideas, for example, is a theme. Like a theme is a general connection of idea, or it's a general shape and form of ideas. So it's a way of saying, well, this story has a theme about friendship, and that's a very general idea that can relate to many, maybe even to all stories, to some extent. Um, Another point that we can talk about is something like point of view. So it would be difficult to explain the idea of point of view just from a single story or from a single narrative. And I think it would be much easier to do so if you relate between different texts that use different point of views. So one example that comes in mind is when we talked about mouse, and we related it to the flowers. So those stories were told in different point of views, and when you put them together, it's much easier to see that and sort of learn from it. And you can also get into discussions about what it means, like why is this story told from a certain point of view rather than another point of view, and how would it be different? How would it be if it weren't told from that specific point of view? Like I could say that about the flowers, the fact that it's told from a third person point of view allows the reader to have more information than the character does, right? So when the girl sort of like she's probably not aware, like it's very implicit, the text where it says like that she lives in a her family lives in a sharecropper cabin. Well, we as a reader understand what that means, or as readers, we understand what that means, but the character probably doesn't, because she's a young girl and she was just born into this very distorted world which she isn't aware. So, for example, I could say that the point of view is something that can be used in order to convey irony in that case. Um, about the mouse story, the point of view is it's more personal because it's a person telling his history basically. So it has different advantages in that regard. He was very aware of what was happening around him, and he couldn't he couldn't control it. It was beyond his control. Um, and then how can you make use of this intertextuality? Like you can say, well, today I'm going to teach a unit about why people do horrible things, or the human nature basic sort of questions like that we ask, like how can someone do something like that, or how can an entire society do something like that? And um, various narratives like slave narratives and Holocaust narratives and all of these different terrible things basically can help us to understand a little bit better why people do terrible things, and why societies do terrible things, and why people ignore atrocious things that happened. It's a depressing unit. I wouldn't teach it during a pandemic, but maybe after that. And obviously, it's just an example. But thanks for watching, and have a great day.